Jim, how are you?
Good, Eric. How are you feeling? That's the better question.
Oh, wow, a lot better than I was, that's for sure.
Good.
A
Glad to
lot
hear
better
it.
than I was. Yeah, they extracted a tooth from my front tooth, and then they took 5 other teeth and they chopped them half the size of baby teeth. And I got a new rack. Michael!
Good day.
Jorge Ariasa. Is it Arine? Is that how you pronounce that? Arine Ariasa? Marisol, how are you doing?
Hi, good, and you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Are you still in pain?
I'm not. It's good to be back to normal, to tell you the truth.
Good.
It was a challenging few days. Mary Rose, how are you doing? So Mary Rose is on the call. All right,
Hi,
guys.
everybody.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I hope you're
Mary
feeling
Rose,
better.
thank you. Where are you based out of?
I'm here in the Philippines, guys.
Ah, are you a realtor?
I'm actually a virtual assistant under Colette McDonald.
Ah, she's
Yes.
great.
Yes,
is
she
awesome.
is.
So, Mary Rose, where are you at in the Philippines? Because I used to be stationed there, and I lived there for about 18 months.
Oh, wow. Here in Manila.
Okay.
Specifically, Quezon. Whereabouts were you here?
Well, I was stationed at Subic at QB Point, but I spent a lot of time up in Angeles City. So.
Yeah, that's about like 2 hours from here. So, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I used to live.
Hope you come visit here soon.
I was back there about 5 years ago, and it had completely changed from what I remember, and for the good, I might add.
Yeah, there's always changes here, especially now.
I practically lived there, Mary Rose.
Really?
I had a restaurant on Makati Avenue between
Oh,
Pete Morgus and the Makati Bridge, and then I had an
yeah.
office in San Juan City.
Oh,
But
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was there every other week for 7 years in a row.
Well, we gotta visit you whenever are you still coming to Manila or?
No, I mean today. I closed down my business there, but I had a business there with about 50 employees.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a great country.
Fantastic. Yep. Thanks.
Great people.
Well, hope I see one of you guys someday soon.
Yeah. What brought you to the Philippines, Eric? I mean, you just don't show up.
I had a restaurant that I had created called New York Pizza Palace, and I took a 2,500 square foot restaurant and I created New York City, realizing that most people from the Far East didn't have immigration capabilities or the monetary means to make it to the United States. So I created New York City. And then I took New York's most iconic food product, pizza, and I created, do you know what Sbarro is, Jim? Sbarro?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
It's kind of like a Panda Express. You walk the line and you pick what you want based on your dietary preferences.
Okay, yeah.
And I created New York Pizza Pasta. It was like Sbarro and steroids. So I created
wow.
pizza, pasta, chicken salads, and got a lot of positive write-ups, but they location.
Yeah.
In the real estate in the Philippines, as you know, it's so humid there that people typically they live inside malls.
That's true.
Right,
Mary Rose? That is absolutely true.
And I did not have a great location, and it was brutal. So never try opening up a business internationally that you can't manage. Anyway, it's good to see everybody today. We're starting to fill up. I'll just wait a couple more moments for people to jump on the horn here. Before I kick off today's lesson, which are really 2 of my favorite classes, today I'm going to be talking about objection handling, which is what I think really separates the amateurs from the professionals in any sales organization. An objection is simply a pathway to a sale. And you've heard me say this over and over again in real estate, as in most professions, you hear the same objections over and over and over, and common sense would dictate that if you know you're going to hear something, be readily prepared to address it. Why get red-faced and uncomfortable? Because if you're feeling uncomfortable, Michael, could we agree? Everybody, you're the person who you're speaking with realizes that you're uncomfortable, and that makes an uncomfortable situation. So in objection handling, you have 2 choices. You can get red-faced and annoyed, or you could look at it like, with a sense of peace and a sense of peace and easiness, where you feel I'm going to extend an olive branch and be able to secure this person's business. So today's class is going to be in objection handling and also on building out a real estate team. So each and every one of you can spend most of your time in a winning situation in front of buyers and sellers, so you can transact and watch your bank accounts grow. It makes sense? As we get into today's class, I wanted to ask anybody any questions about anything that we've covered so far. Are you encountering any issues or any problems in your real estate career? Is there anything that I could address and answer for you at this time? Nobody? All right. Well, first I want to thank everybody for the well wishes. It was definitely a difficult couple of days. I never thought I'd sit in a dentist chair for 9 hours and have them work on my smile and my teeth. It was an excruciating experience, but happy to have it done with and now be back at.
Smile. Let me see you smile. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a new grill. I'm really happy. So, yeah. A lot of work, but I got a new grill here. So, any questions come up for anybody? Nothing at all?
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you. I've taken everything that you've taught and applied it, and I got 3 listings over the weekend.
Marisol, I'm really so
Yay.
happy, and that's awesome. I say that from the bottom of my heart. I know that you're transitioning, and I know how hard you work, and I know how much time and effort you put into your career. And if you take the amount of time and effort that you put into your title business and apply that into your real estate business, the world is your oyster. Because I think what happens in real estate, and Marisol, you probably noticed this because you're a third party or you've been a third party contractor, is we very often take it for granted being in business for ourselves. And now that you're walking the walk and talking the talk and putting in the same effort, if you take that same focus and invest it into you, you're going to have a massive, massive real estate business.
That's the goal. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for doing this for us.
You're welcome. I'm honored. Thank you. Thank you for participating.
You know what I just thought about? I got 4 buyers under contract last week. And
that's
about
awesome.
it, I did use quite a bit of what you taught me. Yes.
That's awesome. Congratulations. What do you attribute to being able to identify those buyers? How did you go about doing that? Adama, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
What they had, let's see, 2 of them identified me, and 2 of them I identified. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, when we were in the, I have a meeting every a couple meetings every month, and this one I was able to just bring in, just bring him in, and it was great. Now that I think about it. And then the other young lady, I've been working with her, trying to get her approved for a while. And she had objection, problem. And then I took it away from her. I said, well, everybody has to determine what their priorities in life are.
Right.
My priority is making a work-free, passive income that I've had since 2011. Now, and I can, and showing my children by what I do. For the sake of time,
I'm going to ask you to condense it for me because I have so much to cover today.
I can't really put a finger on it. I just know that I've been changed from the classes.
Thanks, Adama. Thanks, Adama. Guys, anybody else before we dive into today's lessons? Anybody questions, comments? No? All right, let's talk about objection handling. So as I mentioned when I first started off the call, this is what really separates in any sales profession, regardless of industry. It really what separates the amateurs from the professionals. Because most of the time, when someone hears an objective, we get into that immediately like we're engaged in a fight. And in fact, you're not. I think when someone poses an objection to you, they want to feel like they're really listened to. And again, I made a joke the other day. I want you to think about your relationships with your significant others. And you know how that gets. It happens to me all the time, right? When you're talking to the person who's in your life that you really love the most, and they're talking at you, and you gently want to put your hands around their neck and squeeze a little tighter and a little tighter and say to them, will you please listen to me? Well, folks, your clients feel the exact same way. They want to be listened to. They want to be heard. So come at this. When someone gives you an objection, they are not doing it to irritate you. They're not doing it to pick a fight with you. They're doing it because there's an obstacle in their way. And what they're seeking from you as a professional is for you to extend an olive branch to embrace their concern and to assist them in making a buying decision, which ends with them purchasing your product or service. An objection is a pathway to a sale. An objection is a pathway to a sale. It's a pathway to a sale, and it's nothing to get nervous about. When you hear an objection, you want to embrace that objection. You want to take it in. You want to understand it. And if you could handle it cleanly, with great clarity, they'll perceive you as being confident. And when someone perceives you as being confident, they then perceive you as being competent, right? So your goal is to make your client relax and assist them in navigating around that obstacle so they can clearly understand. So they can clearly understand the specific feature or benefit that you bring. So remember, an objection, again, is simply a pathway to a sale. Okay, so when I'm objection handling, a couple of rules of thumbs I'm going to give you. Number one, the more that you do it, the more that you practice it, it's like riding a bicycle, the better that you're going to get out of it. The better you're going to get at it. Number two, when somebody gives you an objection, I don't want you to talk at them. I want you to communicate with them in the form of asking them questions. Because if you are talking at somebody, you are putting them off. The reason you want to ask them questions is to engage them and not feel like you're telling them that their concern is wrong. So I want you to objection handle by do it in the form of asking questions. Rule number three, when you hear an objection, there is definitely a sense of uncomfortability. I want you to sit in your own poop, sit in your own crap, and just stay with it for a second. And I want you to formulate, if you were debating this person, how would you win the argument? If you were to debate this person, I want you to formulate what your argument would be. But our goal is not to argue. Our goal is to engage. So you're going to take whatever argument that you formulated and you're going to pose it to them in the form of a question. So what you're conveying to them is now more easily digestible. Lisa Zambuda, does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're muted. So I don't want you to talk at them. I want you to formulate, Adama, what your argument would be. But again, the goal is not to argue. It's not to be like two butting heads. The goal is to diffuse and engage. And the only way to diffuse and engage is to ask appropriate questions. That's it. Okay? And I want you to remember rule number 4. In real estate, there are only so many objections. You are going to hear the same 15 or 20 objections, Pedro, over and over and over. Guys, come on. Common sense would dictate it. Vicki Jackson, in your area, in Solano County, what is your average sales price? $500,000-$600,000? So you're looking at potentially losing a $12,000 to $15,000, $20,000 professional fee for service or commission if you're not able to properly isolate, handle, and overcome an objection. If you know that's going to impede you from providing well for you and your families, guys, common sense would dictate that you want to take the time to be readily prepared when you hear these objections, how to handle it in the most appropriate and successful manner possible. So your goal going forward is when you hear an objection, don't get that deer in a headlight look, right? Don't get nervous and flustered. Smile, knowing that you can handle this because you are readily prepared. Don't plan to fail, right? Don't plan to fail, which is what you're doing if you're not readily prepared to handle an objection. When somebody gives me an objection today, I smile. I kind of get that warm and fuzzy because it's an opportunity for me to address their concern and move that person forward in the selling process. So this is going to be a really interactive class, and you can't fail at this. And sometimes, you know, Michael Friedman, who's a good buddy of mine, asked me an objection last time. He goes, Eric, sometimes people just want to give you the price. And I hadn't heard that in a while. And I didn't feel like I answered his question really well in the last class. So I'm sitting there driving to Georgia the other day, right? And I'm thinking to myself, how would I have handled the argument? Now, Michael's a buddy of mine. I don't want to argue, but I formulated how I would have better handled that. Objection handling is like riding a bicycle. The more you practice this, the better you're going to become at this. All of you have this skill set, but I want you to practice that sense of uncomfortability where you're sitting in your own crap, formulating how you would respond with the intent to take that response and put a question to it so that information is embraced by the person whom you're communicating with. Noel, does that make sense what I'm saying? Got it, buddy?
Yes.
I'm going to pose questions to you, and this is going to be your class, and I'm going to call on you guys. And I'm not doing this to embarrass you. I'm doing this because I believe the more that you practice this, the better that you're going to become. So I'm going to pose the questions to you. And again, these are the same objections you're going to hear over and over again. Let's start with one that I've talked about ad nauseum. One of the biggest pushbacks in real estate is, are you willing to negotiate your commission? Are you willing to cut your professional fee for service? Remember that there are three aspects to objection handling. The first one is what you call isolating the objection. So you're very clear what it is that's inhibiting that person from potentially moving forward in a business relationship. What it does, it clearly identifies the obstacle or the challenge that's impeding that person to move forward with you. So who remembers, how do you isolate an objection? Boy, I feel good with my new teeth. I want to smile all the time. How do you isolate an objection?
Other than.
Huh?
Other than.
That's it, bud. Will, other than. Whatever somebody gives you an objection, other than. Other than. So Michael Zamansky, other than my professional fee for service, is there any other reason, Michael, that you wouldn't consider working with me as your real estate professional? Well, also I have a friend in the business. I understand. Other than having a friend in the business and my professional fee for service, is there anything else that's impeding you? Does that make sense, Michael? I want to isolate so I'm clear what my objective is. I'm clear in understanding how I could assist that person. Guys, come at this from a really spiritually healthy place. When someone gives you an objection, I want to hammer this home. They're not doing it to piss you off. They're not doing it to be irritating. They're doing it because they feel that there's something that's blocking them, that's impeding them from moving forward. Embrace that. And I want you to think about this for a second. Marie, Kling, unmute for a second. It's great, I get to call on people today. Marie, can you hear me? Maybe not. Alfonso, you there, buddy?
Yes, sir. Eric.
Hey, great conversation the other day. Dude, you are a frickin' rock star. Loved our dialogue. Thought about it all day. Thank you for engaging me.
Appreciate you.
So, would you agree that if you were not a successful realtor and you were putting your home, your most important asset, on the market and entrusting somebody else to sell it, you would expect that person, when they heard an objection, to be able to speak clearly and concisely and put you at comfort? Would you agree to that?
Absolutely.
Then why the hell wouldn't we expect that from ourselves? If you would expect that from somebody else, if you weren't a realtor, why wouldn't you expect that from yourself? It's just normal, it's logical thinking. So to not be good at objection handling is to be doing not only yourself an injustice, but to doing that person that you're communicating with a terrible injustice. So you want to take the time to internalize. So you ready? First objection. Are you willing to cut your commission? Jim, Trouse, how would you isolate that and then handle it and overcome it? So other than, and then I want you to stop, formulate an argument, and then gently give it back to me. Take your argument and think, how would I give that to Eric in the form of a question so he'll embrace it instead of him thinking that I'm argumentative?
Okay. So other than my commission, Eric, is there any other reason why you would not want to work with me?
No, but had a good presentation. I think I'm there. I just want to see, I want to work with an agent where I can get a deal. I want to net more money. That's it.
Sure, I understand that, and that makes perfect sense to me. Well, let me ask you a question. If I was willing to cut my commission to you now, what do you think the odds are that I'd be working hard for you when it comes time to negotiate the most important asset that you got and that you're selling right now?
So, Jim, I hear you saying that if you don't pay me a full commission, I may not get all of your effort?
No, what I'm saying is that the propensity sometimes for people to be able to cut their commission means if they're not looking at what they're willing to do to help themselves, how much are they willing to help you? I mean, if I'm willing, go ahead.
That's a fair argument. Yeah. Jim, but there's this agent and his name's Will Estrada, good agent. And Will told me that he'd be willing to take my listing for 4.5%. Will you do the same?
Eric, that makes perfect sense to me, and I listen to people all the time talk about that. But let me ask you, do you really think that value is...
Stop for a second, bud. Don't ask me. Less is more. Less wordy. Don't ask me to ask me. Just ask me.
Okay.
You want to shorten the time that you're speaking, so just ask me the question.
I forgot my train of thought now.
So Will Estrada, my buddy Will Estrada said he'd do it for 4%.
Sure, and that makes sense to me. Will's willing to do it for 4%. Do you really think that value is totally in what the person is willing to charge you?
No, well, Will's got a good reputation. And, I think at the end of the day, if I'm able to save money and commission, it means more money in my pocket, right?
Sure, it does. But what if I could get you more money than what the money is that I'm charging you for commission?
Really strong question. Jim, I'm going to go in another direction with you. If you were to argue with me, yell at me, tell me why you shouldn't cut your commission. You want me to role play it with you? Jim, I shouldn't cut my commission because if I'm a damn professional, I don't go in and negotiate my commission the same way a doctor or an attorney doesn't. You don't, I almost do it by accident to ask a question. An attorney doesn't, I'm going to, how do I do this without asking a question? It's like I don't even know how to speak this way anymore.
It's the new teeth.
Right. My point is that I'm not willing to negotiate my commission. An attorney doesn't do that. A doctor doesn't do that. You wouldn't dare ask them to do that. And you shouldn't be asking me to do that. If I said that to you, that's confrontational, correct?
Sure.
But watch when you take it in the form of a question. Jim, if you were to go into your doctor, Jim, would you ever give some thought going into your doctor's office, your attorney's office, and request that they negotiate their professional fee with you?
No.
Jim, if they did, what would that say about the level of professional services that they may be providing to you? Would you really want to work with a doctor or lawyer who you felt had to buy your business? Or would you want to work with the most competent professional who would be putting forth the highest level of services?
Well, I'd rather work with the one that's putting forth the high level of service.
Amanda, do you see what I did? It's the same argument. I just did it in the form of a question. I put who, why, what, or I did a tie down at the end. So watch, Jim. Jim, other than my professional fee for service, is there any other reason you wouldn't list your home with me this evening? Say no.
No.
Jim, if I can't negotiate my own professional fee for service successfully, Jim, do you really want me negotiating on your behalf? Well, Eric, the other agent, Will Estrada, said he'd do it for 4%. Jim, I understand. And if Will is so readily willing to cut his commission, how readily willing might he be, Jim, to cut your asking price when negotiating at the agent that's representing the buyer?
Yeah.
It is a 2x4, it's a gentle 2x4, right to the head. I'm not asking for permission, I'm engaging them. In the same way that when you and I talk online, we don't ask for permission to ask a freaking question. Ask your question and do it confidently, bud. You're a great realtor, right? internalize these responses so it comes off right there at the snap of your fingers. So you never have to get nervous or red-faced. Well, you know, Eric, if I worked with Will Estrada, I'm going to save myself $20,000. Jim, and I understand, and I hate to equate one's health to one's most important asset, but for the sake of this exercise, if God forbid you needed to go in for a heart operation and there were 3 cardiovascular surgeons in a room, and the average fee, Jim, to operate in your heart and save your life is $10,000. If the first doctor stood up and said, Jim, I'll do it for 5, would you be a little reticent about having them operate on? If the second doctor said, hey, Jim, I'm a good cardiovascular surgeon, the average fee to operate in your heart is $10,000, that's exactly what I'm going to charge you, you'd probably have a greater level of comfort, wouldn't you? That's a tie down. Wouldn't you, Jim?
Yes.
See, I'm getting Jim to engage with me. I'm tying him down. Watch. Jim, if the third doctor, another question, if the third doctor was bold enough to stand up and say, hey, Jim, I'm the best cardiovascular surgeon in the world, and I'm going to charge you $20,000, and I'm the doctor that's going to save your life. Jim, may I ask, what would you do?
I'd hire him because I know he's going to save my life.
Then why would you do anything differently with a real estate professional? Why would you work with a realtor who's willing to negotiate their fee because they don't have enough confidence in the level of service that they're providing you, and they have to go out there in an effort to buy your business? Is that really who you want to work with, Jim? And that settles that, doesn't it, my friend?
Yeah, so what happens if they do come back and they still give you more objections?
Give me another objection.
Well, the objection is, yeah, but I really need the money.
I understand. I understand, Jim. And when you purchase your next home, after this property, after we sell your home, we're going to go out and purchase another property. May I ask, will your offer be predicated on what the seller needs to have, or will you make an offer based on what you perceive to be fair market value?
What's going to be fair market value?
Then why would you expect anybody else to do anything differently? Pow. Guys, this is rehearsed. So it's not like I'm some, mastermind with words. This is practice in the same way an actor practices their lines or does something.
Yeah, can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
I literally do with 2 different EXP agents do script practice. The difference is what I'm seeing is that the questions that are being asked and the way it's being brought forward. I mean, it's really powerful, the questions, and believe it or not, the logic that's going into the questions that you're asking. I mean, honestly, I spend 2 hours a week doing script practice on expireds and FSBOs with different agents, and I've never quite, it's always the same thing, it's never, you think when you're doing script practice that you're doing okay, until you get to the phones, and then all of a sudden it's a little bit different because the questions you're asking are not the right questions.
I think, well, the nice thing is, Jim, you ready? The nice thing is you're going to have all of these objections in your email this evening. And what I'm willing to do is, if you guys want to, I'm willing to jump on a call every once in a while and role play with you and do objection handling. I'm willing to do some prospecting together with you so you can get comfortable. But the more you practice this, and Jim, there's no right way to objection handle. Yes, I believe less is more. My questions are succinct. I do formulate an argument and then pose it to them in the form of a question so it can be embraced. But there's no right or wrong way. Are you willing to negotiate your commission could be handled in a myriad of different ways. That's how I choose to handle it. But what I do like that I do is my questions are succinct. They're dead on, they're powerful, and I ask them with a sense of confidence.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something, Eric?
Please, Stella.
There are 2 ways that I have seen you scripts and history in reading about these things, because practice I'm not very good. And the one thing that I have heard is that you tell me if it's right or wrong, is that if they say to you that, are you willing to cut your commission for me? So the one thing that they were saying to me is that
Stella, it's going to have to be short today because I have a ton to cover with you. So
The
what's your question, honey?
Yes, of course, we offer different marketing approach for 3 different prices. I can do it for 5%, for so, 6%. Is that logical? It's nonsense.
It's a great question, Stella. For me, and again, I don't want to come off or pontificate that I'm, God, judge, and jury, because I don't think anybody has, you know what I mean, Stella, when I say that? I don't want to come off like my way is the right way of doing it. I don't like that approach, and I've heard, what would you like me to cut out of my service? When a doctor operates in you, they don't negotiate which limb they're going to take off.
Exactly.
You are a professional and do your business a certain way. And I believe that having to negotiate your commission, you're getting paid because you're a professional.
Yeah,
and you're responsible, Stella, listen to this. You're responsible with either helping someone typically make their biggest purchase or dispose of their most important asset. And if we as a group, if we as a community of professionals don't embrace that, how do we expect anybody else to?
Okay, thank you. Because me too, I am the same line with you, and I would never say that to a client. So I was just trying to see what is your opinion.
Yeah, Stella, I forget which real estate coach or trainer brings that up, but it is not one of my favorite approaches, to be honest with you. I don't want to give people a smorgasbord of ways to negotiate my commission with them. I'm a professional and I have a fee for service. In the same way, I don't walk into my attorney's office and say, you know what? I'm having a really bad hair day. Would you mind lowering your fee $50 to soothe me? I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, then he or she would come back at me. Well, you could have this for this. It sounds silly to me, Stella. I would not operate my business that way.
One other thing is that when they come back to you and they say that this is how I think, I don't know if it's right or wrong. If they come back to you, as you said now with the other classmate, that they say, yes, but I want to make more money. Can you say that with me, finally, you will make more money because when the time comes, I can negotiate a higher price than you compared to the other person who's easily giving in with his...
No, because now you're talking and you're not asking. So how I handle that is exactly how I would handle it with Jim Trouse. I would say, I understand that your goal is to make the most amount of money or net the most amount of money. But what your home sells for is a function of what a qualified buyer is willing to pay for it. Is that correct, Stella?
Correct, yeah.
And at the end of the day, when you go out and you purchase your next home, the seller, you're not going to put a lot of thought into how much money the seller needs to net, correct? You're going to put an offer based on fair market value. And my fee for service is irrelevant. My fee for service is irrelevant to what somebody pays you or doesn't pay you for a property. My fee for service is because I'm a professional that's going to work hard on your behalf to yield you the most amount of money for your home and to get it sold quickly in the smoothest manner possible. That's ultimately what you're seeking in a realtor, isn't it, Stella?
It is, but in this case, he has his absolute choice. If he knows that this buyer comes to him with the same price, me, him, or anybody else, then I make him easier for you.
Let's take it offline just for the sake, because I want to get through this class today.
Right, okay.
There's a lot of objection handling that I want to go through you. I'm going to pull up objection handlings, and I want you to try to internalize how you respond. Again, go through the exercise and think, how would, if I were to argue this person, if I was to debate this person, how would I debate it? And then just give it back to me in the form of a question. You ready?
Thank you, yes.
I have a friend in the business. I have a friend in the business. So are you willing to potentially work with me as your real estate professional? Eric, I don't think so. I have a friend in the business. How would you isolate, handle, and overcome that? Anybody want to take a stab at this? The nice thing is I get to call on people if they don't want to engage. Michael, give it to me, pal.
All right, you have a friend in it. Other than you having a friend in the business, is there any other reason that you wouldn't work with me?
Slowly, confidently, yes. No. There's no other reason that I wouldn't work with you. But confidently, slowly, Michael. Okay. Don't rush through this, right? Okay. Savor it. Take your time. Confidence. When we're rushing, it shows nervousness. Speak slowly.
Okay. So, Eric, I understand you have a friend in the business, but other than having someone that you know in the business, is there any other reason that you would not work with me?
No, I think that's pretty much it, Michael. I have a friendship with somebody who's near and dear, who's a realtor.
Well, let me ask you this question. If something were to not go well with the transaction, there's so much that could happen. You think that that might damage your friendship?
I never really thought about it like that.
Well, let me ask you another question. If I was able to get you the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time and include your friend by giving your friend a finder's fee of 25%, would that make you feel better about working with me?
You know, I think that he'd be put off if I asked him to give him a finder's fee. I think that what he'd be thinking is that I'm disrespecting his services or don't think that he could do the job. So I don't want to do anything to upset that friendship.
I understand, but other than upsetting that friendship by offering a fee, wouldn't you agree that by offering a fee, you'd be acknowledging that he does this for a living, but also
Stop for a second. Argue with me. We're friends. You could argue with me.
Okay.
Argue with me. So you and I are in confrontation, and I say I have a friend in the business. Why argue with me? Why I shouldn't use my friend?
Well, you mentioned New York. I'm not sure exactly where you were selling the property. I'm assuming you're going to sell the property. I'm working in that same area, or is that not the case?
Your friend and I work in the same area.
Okay, because otherwise, I mean, I guess one of the things that I'd like to know is, are they a full-time agent, or
Michael, watch. I'm going to stop you for a second. Watch, bud. If I were to argue with you about why you shouldn't work with your friend, why? At the end of the day, Michael, you owe it to yourself to work with the agent who's going to get you the results that you want. You don't owe me anything, and you don't owe anybody anything either. You owe yourself the very best representation. But now I'm telling you what you should feel and think. And that's not how you embrace a relationship. Or, Michael, you owe your friend friendship. But if your friend wasn't a doctor, you wouldn't have them operate on you. Or if your friend wasn't a lawyer, you wouldn't have them writing a legal briefing. You need to work with the person that best represents your interests. Again, I'm talking at you. Watch how I can say the same thing by just taking that argument and flipping it by asking you a question. It becomes desirable. Michael, you owe me nothing, correct?
Correct.
You owe your friend friendship, I assume. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Michael, if you believe that I was the realtor that could sell your home for the most amount of money and get it sold quickly in the smoothest manner possible, could I potentially put myself in a position to earn your business? No, my friend is my friend, and I don't want to do anything. I've known Vicki Jackson for years. I don't want to do anything to tarnish or hurt that relationship. I understand. Does being someone's friend require, it's exactly what I said, does being someone's friend require you to hire them to do a professional service that they may, but they may not be up to the task of doing? In other words, Michael, what happens if your friend doesn't provide services at a level that you expect when being entrusted to sell your home, your most important asset? What would that do to your friendship?
Right, that would harm it.
Is that a risk to take?
Probably not.
Michael, can you be in any better position than to compare and contrast the level of services that your friend is willing to render versus what I'm able to provide you to see which is going to yield you and your family results that you want and need? Aren't you in an enviable position?
That's good.
It's a script, pal. It's not good. You could do it just as well. I just internalized it and incorporated it as part of my personality. You could do the same exact thing. It just requires work. But why wouldn't you put in this work? Because once you understand how to do this, what you're going to see is your conversion ratio when working with buyers and sellers absolutely skyrocket.
What about just another realtor, Eric? Not a friend, but another realtor. I'm working with another realtor.
I understand. You owe me nothing. I assume that you don't owe that realtor anything else. Don't you owe it to yourself to identify the best and most professional representation, Jim, that you could find? Can you be in any better position that can compare and contrast? Is Jimmy Tam on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Jimmy, do you recall when I just brought you over to the company? Then you told me that you were already considering working with another group?
Yes.
Does this sound at all familiar to what I'm saying right now?
Yes.
Jimmy said to me, Eric, I'm already talking to another group. I'm at EXP, guys. And Jimmy said to me, Eric, I'm already talking to another group. And all I said, Noel, does this sound familiar? Had the same conversation with you.
Yes.
Vicki Jackson, sound familiar? I've had the same conversation with all of you. Will Estrada, one of my best buddies. Pedro. Same, Rich, Philip. I mean, we've had all of these same conversations. Michael Zemetsky, we had this conversation this morning. You owe it to yourself to compare and contrast. Could you be in any better position? I use the exact same thing. Lisa Zambuda, does this sound familiar? It is the exact same dialogue that I use over and over and over again. So when you pose a question to me, I'm really happy where I'm at. Got it. Great. Then could you be in any better position to quantify that? Could you be in any better position than to compare and contrast, guys? Very important that you understand. Very. Rich Holzer, right on. This is definitely the dialogue we had. We did, brother. We did.
No doubt.
All right, I'm going to bring up this. You're not going to read the screen, though, so I'm going to take this off quickly. And this is objection handling. You ready? So let's look at this together. So a buyer would like you to show them a home and meet them at a specific property. They're pushing back and coming to your office and preventing you from doing an effective needs analysis and setting healthy expectations. We talked in our last class in the buyer's presentation how it's imperative to be able to look somebody in the eye and understand their body language. We talked about how important it was to meet with them so you could set proper expectations before engaging in a working relationship and so that you could best understand their buying needs and wants. But this person is pushing back. They want you to act as a tour guide, as a travel service, and simply open up a property for them. Guys, how would you isolate, handle, and overcome that? Stop for a second. Wait, stop. Before you answer it, take the time to sit in your own poop. You know what I mean? Let it resonate. Let it marinate for a while. How would you handle it? Think about it. If you want to argue with that person, right? Michael Zemansky, they don't want to come to your office. Let it resonate for you. Don't just respond. You don't have to be robotic. You need to be a human being, and human beings take time to internalize so you could address accordingly. Adama, sit with it, honey. Sit with it. It's okay. Nobody's going to shoot us for not responding right away. Sit with this, and then how would you isolate it? Well, the isolating part is easy, other than not wanting to come to my office, which would allow me to do a proper needs analysis so I best understand your home buying wants and needs, and to set a healthy expectation around our working relationship prior to beginning an exhaustive process. Is there any other reason that you wouldn't want to come to my office? Pose your argument and then throw it to me in the form of a question. Come on, guys, think.
Other than wanting to
Make believe I'm your husband. Is Irene on the phone? Is Irene on the call? She loves to argue with me. Irene, unmute. She's not going to play this game. Okay. Will's laughing. All right. How would you address that? How would you handle that? So you don't want to come to your office. How would you handle it? Make believe I'm your husband. Argue with me. Pose your argument, and then flip it to me in the form of a question. Will, am I going to get in trouble for that?
I think you might.
Couldn't help myself.
To pose the argument, our market, I mean, there's no inventory. Our market is so tight that sellers agents are not even taking offers unless a person is pre-approved. So it's really a waste of their time to go see something if they haven't already been pre-approved to have the money in the pocket.
Okay,
So,
what's another argument though? What's another argument, guys? Good Adama. What's another argument, guys, why you want somebody to come to your office? Why is it imperative that they come to your office? Will, unmute. Go ahead.
Yeah, would you agree with me that the investment of time to purchase your most valuable asset would guarantee that we go through the whole process to better address your needs and wants?
So Will, what I think I hear you saying is, isn't it important to kickstart a business relationship by me clearly understanding what your buying wants and needs are prior to engaging in a working relationship? Shouldn't we also have healthy boundaries around our working relationship so you know what to expect from me and so what I expect from you? Shouldn't we be clear before we go through a long and drawn out process that we're in a position to excel? Watch what Will just said and watch how it's handled. It's basically it's almost not word for word, but it's very simple, very similar. Hey, Will, other than your desire to see the specific property, is there any other reason you would object coming to my office so I could clearly understand and meet your home buying needs? You know, Will, you're starting your home buying process, and this is exactly how you started off, Will. Will, you're starting your home buying process and will be spending a good deal of money on the home you choose to purchase. Is that accurate? Wouldn't that warrant us having the opportunity to sit down so I could do a proper needs analysis in understanding exactly what you seek when making a purchase of such magnitude? Can I assume your goal, guys, these are all questions. Can I assume your goal is to take advantage of an attractive buying climate and secure a property once the right home is identified? With today's market, Adama, listen, this is what you had just said. With today's market being so competitive, shouldn't we have a strategized plan in place to ensure your success when making offers while setting appropriate expectations around our working relationship? This would be of great importance and benefit to both of us. Wouldn't you agree? It's almost identical to what Will and I just said. I just put it in the form of a question. Just put it in the form of a question. What's the hardest objection you guys typically hear? I know what it is for me. What's the hardest objection, the most difficult one to overcome? Pedro, what do you think?
Commission.
Not from me. Commission, I got easy. How about when somebody says to you in a listing appointment, I want to think about it? I've got a couple of more agents that I want to interview. How do you tell them, no, you can't think? No, I don't want you to think. I'm really good, right? To me, Lisa, you're laughing. Is that one of the harder objections to overcome? I want to think about it. I like your presentation. Thank you for coming over this evening. Let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Vicky, challenging?
What part
For me,
of
it is.
plan of action do you want?
Say it again.
What part of my plan of action would you like to think about?
Excellent, bud. Excellent. Other than needing more time to think about it, first isolate me. First isolate me. What part of my plan of action is it that you need to think about? And would you like me to go back and highlight that for you? You ready, guys? This having the ability, remember in our pre-listing packet, here we go. This having the ability to cancel the listing agreement anytime you're not 100% satisfied with my service. Does that not provide you a greater level of comfort in moving forward this evening? Well, Eric, I still really want to think about it. I understand. And I apologize if I'm coming off as being too assertive or being too pushy. But I'm assuming that you would like to work with an agent that when a buyer is sitting on a fence, will give them that proper nudge or pushiness to get them to take action. Is that correct? Would you allow me to put my assertiveness and professionalism to work for you? Well, you know, Eric, I really appreciate your time this evening, but I really do need to think about it. I understand. So I'll trial close them 3 or 4 times and then watch. I understand. And absolutely, you need to take time to ensure that you're working with the most suitable real estate professional possible. Would you please point me in the direction of your coffee maker and your couch? And they'll look at me like kind of funny. Would you please point me in the direction of your coffee maker and your couch? What I'll do is I'll help myself to a cup of coffee. I'll crash here on your couch. So when you wake up in the morning, you'll have had plenty of time. And I laugh, right? I'm going to break the ice. So you'll have plenty of time to have thought and pondered why I'm the most suitable agent for you. You know, Lisa, I do clearly understand, and I'm obviously being facetious. The only thing that I would ask is, prior to putting your home on the market, would you give me the opportunity to come through one more time before you list with anybody else to ensure that you're absolutely working with the right agent? Because I'm confident that you'll come to that conclusion that I'm the person that's best for you to work with. So let's take a look at this. I want to think about it, other than needing more time to think about it. Is there any other reason stopping you from hiring me as your real estate professional in the sale of your property? May I ask, what part of my plan of action to sell your home do you need to consider? Will, that was all you, buddy. Would you like me to highlight some of the marketing efforts I'll be utilizing to successfully negotiate and sell your property so you're extremely comfortable with the entire process? I hope I've adequately conveyed my desire, commitment, and the enormous responsibility I'll have as your real estate professional. In the event I'm not far exceeding your professional expectations, you may simply cancel our listing agreement. Just having this flexibility provides you with a greater level of comfort, almost word for word. I apologize if I'm being perceived as being too pushy. However, when a potential buyer may be sitting on the fence about writing an offer, I assume you want to work with an agent who is pushy enough to provide a proper nudge to get them to take action, correct? Would you allow me to put my assertiveness and professionalism to work so we can obtain you the results that you want, need, and deserve? Make sense? Couple more, guys. I want you to engage in this. You ready? What about, boy, I'm getting so good with this screen share. I'm like so bummed this class is this is our last class today. I just when I'm really kind of like really dialed into Zoom. Okay. I want to work directly with the listing agent to get the best deal. Have we all not heard that? I want to work with the listing agent. Listing agent's going to get me the best deal. I don't see the benefit of working with a buyer's agent. How would you isolate it, handle and overcome it? Boy, a lot of people on page 2 here. Maria Villalobos, one of my favorite people. Maria, can you hear me? Maria's like, Eric, don't you dare pick on me. Huh. Anybody? I want to work directly with the listing agent. Noel, your time. Unmute me. I see you. All right, buddy.
All right, give it a try.
There's nobody else here. There's nobody else here. Just you and me having fun at this. So what's your argument, pal? First, isolate me. I want to work directly with the listing agent. How would you isolate me?
So other than wanting to work with the listing agent, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want me to represent you as your buyer's agent?
No, that's pretty much it, Noel. First thing, now stop. Think about your argument. What's a smart argument? If you were debating me, we're both members of the debate team. What would be your debate? I want to work with the listing agent because the listing agent will get me the best deal. That's my debate. What's your debate? But don't debate me. Then you're going to take that debate and put it in the form of a question.
Okay. Are you aware who the listing agent represents in this transaction?
Bingo. Yes, the listing agent represents the seller.
Okay. And what do you think their interest would be representing your wants and needs in this transaction? If they're representing the seller and wanting to get the most money for the seller, then you.
No, you had it. Don't tell me. Ask me. You just had it. So what's the intention of the seller? What does the seller want to accomplish? And the person that they've hired. Just that. You had it. To sell their home for the most amount of money.
Okay. And do you think the listing agent would try to get the seller to come down on price or try to get the most money for their client?
Well, I'm assuming get the most money for their client.
Are you willing to, how much are you willing to pay for the, are you willing to overpay for the property?
Noel, that was freaking great, dude. You handle that as well as anybody, and I've done this class for 20 years. That was lights on. I want to show you how excellent that was. Really, embrace that. Seriously, dude.
Okay.
Lights out.
Yeah. It's
Lights
actually my
out.
first time hearing that objection. I've never heard that objection, so it's all out of the fly.
I mean, almost dead on. The only difference is the directness of the question, right? Hit them with
Yeah.
a freaking 2x4, a gentle 2x4. I don't know if there's such a thing as a gentle 2x4. Other than your perceived benefit of working directly with the listing agent, is there any other reason, Noel, why you wouldn't have me represent you in the purchase of your home? Well, the listing agent, Noel, has been hired by the seller to sell their home for the most amount of money. Would you agree? As the buyer, Noel, aren't you hoping to purchase the home at the cheapest possible price so you can obtain the most value? Then how is it possible that the listing agent will be able to sell the home for the most money and get you the most value at the same time? That would be virtually impossible, wouldn't it? Would you allow me to put my expertise to work for you so I can identify the home that best meets the needs of you and your family to get you the most value for your dollar and make the transaction of your purchase as smooth as possible? Noel, you were almost dead on. It's just different words. And I don't want you to use my words. I want you to use your words so it comes off as being genuine and absolutely authentic. That was lights out, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lights out.
Question.
Please.
Well, I had another listing agent on another property to tell me that he could represent me as a client and the seller as a client. So what about that? They would be my agent and the seller's agent at the same time.
As the buyer, should they be your buyer's agent, Adama, and the seller's agent? That's what we just handled, hon. So how can
dual agency? Dual agency is different. Dual agency, well, in my states, dual agency is different. When I'm a dual agent, I do it all the time. I represent the buyer and the seller. I give the buyer and the seller the same information on the value of the property and the market analysis. And then they choose, the buyer chooses what he's going to pay. And then I negotiate the deal and handle it with an attorney.
What I think,
do that all the time.
So I think what Noel just demonstrated really, really well is that it's hard representing both. It's hard representing both. Based on the strength of the question that Noel asked, he indicated to that person that it would be challenging to work on behalf of both parties, because if an agent is out there working for a seller to get their home sold for the most amount of money, and the buyer is hiring them to get them the most value for their dollar, how are they able to go to work for both people and accomplish very dissimilar tasks?
It's dual agency. And
I understand.
Dual agency, and I'm in this position right now. I have a seller that has a property that's off market, is one of my investors. I have a buyer that's interested in buying it. I did the same market analysis for both, so they both know what the value, what the market is saying that the value is, and they have to negotiate, through me, what price they want to offer. And they know what the market is doing. I mean, that's dual agency. We do that all the time.
You do. I mean, so the goal of this exercise, Adama, the goal of this exercise is when somebody is pushing back and working with you as a buyer and they want to work with the listing agent because their perception is they'll get a better deal. Your goal is to move them away from that stance by addressing it in the way that Noel just did. But I know, I totally understand. I mean, I understand that dual agency happens is pretty common, right? And I could flip that around. If somebody said to me, I want to work with a buyer's agent, so the buyer's agent can represent me. If they're working for the listing agent, I want my own agent to represent me to ensure I'm getting the most value. I could turn around and sell that in a way that, in a way that would benefit me. The goal of objection handling is to understand how to move somebody in a way and provide them a level of comfort by leading them with questions. Okay, guys, a couple more.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Couple of more. And I'm going to get you out this document. Okay, number 7. A property has expired from the multiple listing service. The seller still has an interest in selling the property and is willing to pay a commission if I bring a buyer. Now, guys, listen, this is going to happen a lot more as the market continues to change or modify and we see more expired listings, right? You're going to see this a lot, and I want you to take the time to address this. So the property has expired from the MLS. The seller still has an interest in selling the property and is willing to pay a commission if I bring a buyer. They're currently not interested in relisting the property because, again, it's been in the market for 6 months. If I bring them a buyer, they're willing to participate. How would you isolate, handle, and overcome that? Anybody? Nobody?
I don't want to hog, but I can do it.
Okay. Adele?
Other than the fact that your house has been on the market and this long and hasn't sold, and you just want me to bring you a buyer, is there any other
Too long,
reason?
Adele. Short, hon. Because remember, people's attention span is very short. Give it to them short sentences because people have very short attention spans. Less is more when selling. So other than the fact that you don't want to put your home back on the market for an extended period of time, is there any other reason you wouldn't consider listing your property, right? Less is more. Okay, so now what would be your argument, Dama?
Are you aware that the listing agent has to sell your house twice?
No.
They have to sell it twice because they have to sell it to the rest of me, say me as a buyer's agent. They have to sell it to the buyer's agents, the agents that have buyers that are looking for your house. And then it's sold. The buyer's agents typically sell it.
All right, so I'm going to stop you because I want you to, it's got to be a penetrating question. It has to be something that's penetrating. So Dama, watch the difference. Make believe you and I are married. And Michael, what were you going to say? I see you just raised your hand.
So what I would come at them with is like, I understand it's frustrating that your home expired, it was on the market. What are you missing out on by not selling your house right now?
It's a really freaking strong question. That's a really great question. And I wasn't even thinking of that. Well, you know, we do want to move. I mean, we absolutely want to move down to, we want to move to the Miami Beach area. So it's certainly not allowing us to make that move until the house sells, but I just don't want to give it away.
Great, I understand that. I know that I've got a buyer who is interested in your home. Other than getting it back on the MLS, what kind of objections do you have?
Well, you know, I just don't want people, you know, coming through the house. Michael, if you bring me a buyer, I'm more than happy to pay a commission for it. I just don't want to put the house back on the market and go through the same crap, the same rigmarole that I already did.
I completely understand. So if I'm able to bring that to you, are there anything else that I could answer for you about getting that home sold and getting you to Miami?
Go granular with me. What I mean is the following. Let's talk, make believe again, you know, we're friends, make believe that we're having a debate. And I was debating you, what's the benefit of listing with a realtor? To get maximum exposure on the property. The goal is to get as many agents through your property so we could sell your home for the highest dollar amount. By you not putting your home on the property, what you're doing is you are negating that from happening. You're inhibiting that. You're not allowing as many people to come through the home because you don't have agents aware that your home is on the market. And that's not in your best interest. Is that a fair argument, Michael?
Yeah.
Right? So it goes, if your goal is to sell your home for the most amount of money, you need to have the most amount of exposure. And by not having the most amount of exposure, you're minimizing receiving the best offer. But now I'm talking at you. Watch, almost identical, that argument, Michael. May I ask, what are your specific goals pertaining to the property? Doesn't having as many qualified buyers come through the home increase your odds of selling the property at a price point you seek? By not having the property in the MLS and being properly marketed for realtors to bring through their qualified buyers, Michael, doesn't that limit your exposure and the ability to identify potential buyers?
Absolutely.
Don't you see how having your home readily available to realtors and their client is most aligned with what it is that you want to accomplish? Michael, if you felt that I was the professional that can get your home sold for the most amount of money in the quickest period of time and in the smoothest manner possible, would you consider listing the property with me?
Yeah.
Number 9, a buyer is willing to have you represent them if you identify a property that they choose to purchase. They want to work with multiple agents, but are unwilling to commit solely to working with you. Come on, guys. We've all, Lisa, you ever had a buyer like that? Vicki Jackson, you ever had a buyer like that? You know those pain in the ass buyers? They want to work with a multitude of realtors. And if you happen to find them that diamond in the rough, Noel, then they'll work with you. Watch. Okay? Isolate it, handle, and overcome it. It's easy. Practice. Vicki, practice with me. Come on.
Okay, what was the question again?
Buyer wants to work with multiple agents. They're not going to sign with you. They're not going to work with you exclusively. You find them the property, they'll let you write the offer, but they want to have the opportunity to work with as many agents as possible. It's an easy one to overcome.
Okay, so other than you wanting to work with other realtors, is there any other reason why you wouldn't choose me as your realtor?
No, that's pretty much it. Guys, what did she just do? She isolated me.
Isolated.
Yep. Go ahead, Vicki. That was great.
Okay, so I mean, what I normally would do is say, I use the relationship thing where I say, when you're in a relationship with someone, then you want to be faithful to that person because both of you are doing, you know, are making sure that, wait, I'm getting all frustrated.
Listen to me. You're great. You're great. And you're a top producing agent. I'm going to tell you.
I'm not really good at scripts.
This is really interesting. Vicki, I'm not picking you embarrassing. You know I love you dearly. And I've known Vicki for a long time. She's a top agent in Solano County. It's really interesting. 99.9% of the top agents don't know how to isolate, handle, and overcome objections. And Vicki, I don't want you to talk at me. I love what you're saying. Throw it at me in the form of a question. Make me feel warm and fuzzy. Embrace me, engage me. Don't tell me how to think. Show me how to think. And you show me by asking. You get the exact same point across in the form of a question that you do in a statement. So why make a statement?
Right. So Eric, would you want someone to be faithful to you?
Of course. Yes, I want someone to be faithful to me. Absolutely, Vicki. Yeah.
And especially if you were out there working for that person and putting in your time and effort, would you want that person to do the same for you?
Yeah. So in other words, would I work with a buyer if the roles were opposite? Would I work with a buyer if I didn't know I was going to get a paycheck at the end of the payday? Do you go to work on a weekly basis and not expect to get paid for your time and efforts? You're right there. That was perfect. Do you see the difference? You're now coming at it from engaging, right? Vicki, when you go to work at the end of a work week, do you expect to get paid for your time and effort that you've put into your profession? Why would somebody go to work on your behalf if they didn't know that there would be a potential payoff for their time and effort? If you wouldn't do it, why would somebody else? If your goal is really to find a home where you get the most value for your dollar and a home that best matches your wants and needs, how invested is a professional, a true professional, going to be if they don't know that there's going to be received some type of remuneration for that? Would you be any different?
No, we're no different.
You were right there. You were right there. I mean, here it is, right in front of you. Watch.
Okay.
Vicki, that was really good. You have to play with this. Would you agree that identifying a property that best meets the needs of you and your family while getting you the most value for your dollar takes a good deal of time and effort? You're also aware of the amount of time and commitment it would take to do this task successfully. Wouldn't you agree? If you were a real estate professional and a buyer wasn't committed to working directly with you, how committed would you be to go to work on their behalf and getting them the results that they want, need, and desire? If I'm willing to work this hard, Vicki, to earn your business, how hard do you think I'll work as your real estate professional representing you? Remember that. I use that a lot. If I'm willing to work this hard to earn your business, how hard do you think I'll work as your real estate professional? Would you allow me to put my knowledge, dedication, and negotiation skills to work for you in identifying the property that best meets your needs? Guys, you are going to hear the same objections over and over. It only makes sense to do the following. I would identify somebody on this call. If you want, I'm more than happy to jump on a call once a month with you and do this. But you need to internalize these scripts so it comes off as very natural. Because this is a pathway to a sale. Every time I heard one of these objections, I didn't get nervous still. I almost got a warm and fuzzy. Like, it's like, bring it on. It's okay. I understand. It's a good question. There's no such thing as a bad question. The only thing is not asking a question when you have one. So if I'm truly a professional, I want to be able to respond in the clearest and most professional manner possible and put that person that I'm sitting in front of absolutely at ease. At that point in time, Michael Zemansky, I've known that I've done my job. At that point in time, it's not the paycheck. The paycheck is my ability to perform and put somebody at a sense of ease where they want to do business with me. Questions, comments? I'm going to email this out to you after the class, or Chris Pasquale is going to email this out to you after the class. Questions, comments, anybody?
I have a question.
Please.
In the states where that I work, and I double checked, unless there's a buyer's agreement in place, we have to give whatever information that we get from the buyer to the seller, to the seller's agent. So that's my first go-to. That, you know, in the state where I'm at, we have to declare who we work for and whose interest that we put ahead of each other's. And I think I emailed you something about the buyer's agency contract in terms of that law.
But from an objection standpoint, anybody, any questions or comments? Does this make sense to what I'm saying to all of you? I mean, there are some great agents on this call today, and I'm going to tell you what really distinguishes you as being a professional is to internalize these scripts and make them your words. I'm not asking you to sound like me. I do want to point out one other thing, and this is called, I'm sure you've all heard the terminology, neuro-linguistic programming. So I'll emphasize certain words when I really want to drive home a point. You don't have to ramble, guys. Speak slowly. Take control by asking questions. When you're talking a lot, you're out of control. The goal is to be engaged and in control consistently so you can move them in the direction of purchasing your product or service. Let's take a couple of minute break, and then I'm going to show you how to build out a real estate team. And I think you're really going to like this. This is the last lesson and so there have been 12. This is number 12 that I'm going to go through. And it's building out a real estate team so each and every one of you could spend more time putting yourself in a winning position, being in front of buyers and sellers, which is ultimately how you want to spend your day. Because when you're not in front of a buyer and seller consistently, you're ultimately costing yourself money. Water break, bathroom break, couple minutes. See you in a couple minutes. Oh. Ocean glass tablet. Well, you guys didn't go anywhere.
No, I just was looking for my Wi-Fi so I wouldn't have to put it on my phone. But I left it at my open house yesterday, so I got to run by there and get it. Can I log back in?
You're on, Lisa. You're on.
Yeah. Well, no, I haven't left my house yet.
Oh yeah,
As soon
I
as
think you
I
can.
leave, as soon as I leave.
Of course, you can log back on. Yeah.
Okay, I'll log back on when I get over to the open house. Was not far from my house.
Perfect.
I was like, shoot. I was like, no way. I know where it's at. And I know exactly where it's at. All right. I'll see you.
You bet. You bet.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right. How you guys holding up?
Eric, I have a question.
Please, Marisol.
I know that you mentioned once, like towards the beginning of the lessons, that you don't take the listing agreement to the listing appointment.
I take the listing agreement. I don't take a full-blown presentation because I want to look that person in the eye and I want to engage them and my focus is driving the relationship deep. I take a listing agreement, of course, they're going to sign it there.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. If you make sure that it gets signed before you leave the listing presentation.
Yeah, unless, unless I have to, tie them to the furniture, my intent is to do everything possible to get that listing signed.
And when you show up with the listing agreement, you already have it pre-filled regarding the purchase price, or?
That's a great question. So it's the only thing that I leave blank is the purchase price, because I'm using a slightly more than marketing concept, Marisol, where I'm not telling them what their home is worth. I'm educating them so they have a say in it. My goal is to have them understand that a home is worth what a qualified buyer is willing to pay for it. And by listing their home just below the competition, it ensures multiple showings. It ensures buyers and agents seeing value, getting lots of activity, and putting them in a position for fast sale for maximum value. So I'm not telling them the price and I'm not filling it in. I'm leaving that blank so they and I can determine what is the right listing price.
And then you fill it in together.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Because again, I want to reiterate, that's what I call the epitome of a lose-lose. When we as realtors tell a seller the value of what we think their home is, at the end of the day, we're in a no-win situation. Because if it's priced too high, you're doing them an injustice and your business a disservice by knowing that you can't perform, you can't create a buyer at that level. And if you tell them a price that's too low, you're immediately in a contentious relationship with a potential client who you want to earn their business. So I never tell the price of the home, ever. I educate using a slightly less than slightly more than marketing concept.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else, guys? Nobody? Okay. Okay. All right, I'm going to get into team building with you guys. So, really important. Okay. So I hope for all of you, sometimes when I say to a realtor, do you want to build a team? And Michael Zemansky and I talked about this morning. When I talk about building a team, yes, I see a benefit of having other agents working for you. But when I'm talking about building a team, I'm talking about support staff. I'm talking about putting people in place that help to elevate you being more successful or more productive. And the end goal is to absolutely build a team so you could focus on doing what you get paid to do, and that's working with buyers and sellers throughout your day. And if you're not with a buyer or potential buyer or seller, then you're not putting yourself in a winning position. So listen carefully when I say this to you. The goal of a team is to make you money. Having an assistant, I'm going to show you how your assistant can become a profit center. The goal of having a team is to make you money. It is to save you money. It's to provide you more time to relax, and it enforces accountability by making you lead, you ready? By example, not through your words. So you cannot, guys, tell your staff to be at the office at 9 a.m. if you're not willing to show them what honoring your time and calendar looks like. Managing a team is very much like raising children. Sure, there are lots of parents on this phone. You know, there is a point in time, I'm going through this with my 19-year-old now, where I'll say something to him and he'll look at me and he goes, Dad, coach the rest of the world, don't coach me. And after that sting goes away, that initial reaction, his message is very normal. It's like, I've heard this over and over again. I don't need to hear this anymore. Lead with your actions, not your words. So your team, very much like your children, will mirror what they see you doing. If you're not passionate, if you're not hardworking, if you don't honor your calendar, if you don't master the art of prospecting, how the hell do you get people prospect for you? It doesn't work like that. So everything that I've taught in the 11 previous lessons were all systems that when you master those systems, you're able to then teach others. Does that make sense to everybody? So the reason to hire a team is what we call time replication, right? And what I mean by that is you can't duplicate time. There are only 24 hours in a day. There are 7 days in a week, and there's 365 days in a year. And no matter how we try to spin it or fix it, we can never change that. We cannot duplicate time. Time is constant. So what you want to do is you want to try to replicate time. And how you do that is by hiring others, which will allow you to be more profitable. The key is allowing others to make money for you. And the key to doing this is absolutely understanding that you must delegate. And guys, I am a control freak like everybody else. My mindset, right, Rosa, is nobody could do it as good as me. The reality is that many people can do things much, much better than me. I'm at my best when I'm in front of a room. I mean, you put me on, Facebook or Twitter, I'm like a fish out of water. So you must understand that there are many people out there that are able to perform at a high level and can help you take your business to the next level if you will trust and delegate. It's absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. So delegation is the key. So remember, the mindset has to be, you can't be the jack of all trades and the master of none. You need to focus your time and efforts in selling, ABC. Always be closing. So when you focus on selling, that's what you get paid for doing. The goal is to hire an assistant. And I put here when you're grossing 150,000, I actually believe it should be less. And a lot of you probably think, oh boy, paying an assistant is going to cost me money. I need that money. No, you're looking at it wrong. Watch. An assistant should prospect 2 hours per workday and make your organization 4 times what they are being paid. So your assistant is a profit center for your business. I am happy to cut her a check or him a check as an assistant, as long as they will prospect 2 hours a day. And what the rule of thumb is, my assistant typically made my organization 4 times what their salary was. So why do most people want to be assistants as opposed to being realtors themselves? They want the what? Security of what?
A paycheck.
You bet. They want a paycheck, Adama. Nothing wrong with that. They want that stability. But I want to ask you a question. Don't those same people want to have an opportunity to better provide for themselves, Michael Zamansky? So as we as human beings And bosses, should we not provide them that opportunity to take 2 hours a day to prospect and to add additional bonus money to their income? That not only, Adama, helps us, but it helps them better provide for their families. So what we're doing is we're accomplishing two goals. What we're doing is we're providing them that financial security or stability that they're yearning for, but we're also dangling that carrot and giving that assistant to make an extra income while having that stability. And when they're able to perform, you're paying them an override. So my goal was my assistant made me 4 times to what I actually paid them. Does that make sense to everybody? Your assistant is not an albatross that's costing your money. Your assistant is a profit center that makes you money and organizes your entire life. Let's take a look at this. Say that again.
Me, I want one.
And you know, Vicki, I'm shocked. As good as you are, your business will blow up, Vic.
I haven't gotten one yet. I need to hire one, but I don't know what, how to do it.
Well, let's go through this and we could talk offline, but I'm going to give you some pointers here.
Okay.
Ready?
Mhm.
Your assistant's primary responsibility is office work and paperwork. They handle all of it. They prepare your listing agreements. They get your contracts ready for you. They do all of your office work and paperwork so you can focus solely on building and servicing your clients. Your assistant should do the following, Vicki. Manage your calendar. I don't manage my calendar. My assistant manages my calendar. My job is to act like a darn professional and honor it. Your assistant's goal is to keep you on track, oversee all of your escrows or transactions that are under contract. They communicate with all third-party vendors. Third-party vendors may not like this all the time, but my assistant could basically handle that. My assistant ensures that all marketing materials are sent out in a timely manner. They take care of bookkeeping, they prepare contracts, and they screen who gets to communicate with me. Does that help, Vicki? They're basically running the show. They are organizing my entire life, and a good assistant is worth their weight in gold. It will take your business to the absolute next level. Hiring telemarketers to prospect for you will also take your business to the next level. And I'm going to tell you, this is something that I did really well. You cannot hire a staff to prospect until you have absolutely mastered the art of prospecting. You should know that general prospecting script inside and out, as well as the expired script. You need to lead by example. It's essential. And you need to incentivize people with bonuses for securing appointments and sales generated. Let's talk about this. People often say, Eric, were you good in real estate? And I often say, I don't know. I had systems in place that I allowed to flourish from me, Adama. What do I mean? I had high school students come to my office on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 4 to 7, and from Saturday from 10 to 1. They wouldn't walk to my office, they would run to my office. Why? Let's look at this. My assistants, pardon me, my telemarketers, I use the word assistants, my telemarketers wouldn't walk to the office, they would run. They were high school students. And each and every one of them, what I looked for were people that had good communication skills, people that were goal-driven, and that people that wanted to make, young adults that wanted to make money. Kind of like my son. And what I would do is the following. I would pay all of my telemarketers minimum wage. If they secured me a listing appointment, they would receive a $25 bonus. You know how much that means to a kid? A $25 bonus for securing me a listing appointment? Noel, would that have meant something to you when you were 17, 16, 17, 18 years old?
Yes.
If I secured, so the next morning after the listing presentation, there would be $25 sitting on their desk for all of the other telemarketers to see. Michael Friedman, you're going to like this. When I secured the listing, there was a $100 bill on the desk, a bonus that was paid to that telemarketer, and that $100 bill was sitting on the desk for all of those telemarketers to see. At the close of the contract or escrow, there was $250 given to that high school student at the close of a contract. Now let's look at this. What is what I call return on investment or total cost? So I provided $25 for securing me an appointment, $100 if I actually took the listing. At the close of contract, $250 bonus. Do you understand that I'm paying a bonus aside from minimum wage of $375 to a high school student? Will, you have 2 young kids. What do you think that would mean to your kids?
That would be awesome for them.
They wouldn't walk to my office. They would be running to my office to pick up the phone because they were incentivized to internalize the script so they could set appointments and get $25, give me an opportunity to secure the listing where they get $100 and they get $250 at a successful closing. So I was making $9,000, Michael, and paying a high school telemarketer $375. Would anybody on this call, on this Zoom call today, not pay somebody $375 to get back $9,000? Treat your telemarketers like absolute gold. Every Thursday night was pizza and ice cream I had brought to the office. I wanted to make it feel like that was home for them. So I would invest in them. I would invest into teaching them and training them. I would invest into making sure that they had fun and liked where they worked, so when they came to my office, they could be as productive as possible. How can I not sell over 100 homes? I had 4 telemarketers coming to my office each and every week, picking up the phone and reaching out to people and understanding the general prospecting script as well as I did. Was I good? I don't know. I had a system that I worked, and I let the system work for me. Does that make sense? Rich Holzer, does that make sense what I'm saying, bud? It's like you're coaching people, right? Telemarketers, remember, at the end of the day, the more people that you speak to or the more people on your team that speak to puts you in a better position to be that much more successful. At the end of the day, sales is a numbers game. And every time somebody says no to you, it means you're that much closer to receiving a yes. Any questions on this? So $25 for securing an appointment, $100 if I took the listing, and $250 when that deal closed. And believe me, you'll have a list of well-spoken, dedicated people that want to work for you and help you build out that all-important database so you have a vibrant real estate business that pays you out in perpetuity.
So Eric, what was your flow or your lead generating mechanism? Was it simply just you being out there on the streets, knocking doors, doing all the things that we talked about in lesson 1?
It's a great question. Lesson 1 was your economic model and your performance tracker. Okay. Lesson 2 was the 7 or 8 different ways of lead generating and prospecting. I would be out there and I would be prospecting. They'd hear me do my follow-up calls. So I was constantly leading by example, Jim. But my focus was always making sure that my funnel of buyers and sellers were full by adapting as many strategies as I could. One of my strategies was my telemarketing team. And man, they were incredibly, incredibly, incredibly successful for me. When I say I had 800 leads in my database when I retired from real estate, I would say a good third or half of them were put in play by my telemarketing team. Did I answer your question, Jim? So the goal when having a team is to lead by example. Be punctual and have great follow through. Be punctual and have great follow through. And what do I mean by having great follow through? I'm going to tell you, to me, the most important thing in life is credibility. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, you must do it. And the beautiful thing about that is if you do it, if you follow through on your commitment, what do you build? Credibility. And I often thought when somebody failed at work for me, it wasn't a reflection of them, it was a reflection of me. So it's really important that you're punctual and that you follow through on your words to build that credibility, and nothing should ever get in the way of that. Hire the right individual and provide them an opportunity to grow. And what looks like the right individual is somebody who's goal-driven, somebody who's money-motivated, somebody who is coachable. So to me, coachable, work hard, good work ethic, and ability to listen. And lastly, I want you to establish metrics and goals with very detailed job description that measures performance. Does anybody know the difference between a metric and a goal? What's a goal? Come on, guys, don't fall asleep yet. We have a half an hour left with each other. I'm gonna miss you guys. Don't you fall asleep on me yet. What's a goal? Lisa, what's a goal?
A goal is what you want, what you desire. It's what
you aspire for. Yeah. What you
That's what
aspire
you're shooting for. That's where you want to be.
You bet. What's a metric?
Measurement. It's what
You bet. And that's what everybody in your team should understand. What is a metric? It is a measurement. So you can measure someone's performance. So when you go to work for somebody, right? You're working a 40-hour work week and you're receiving a paycheck. There are metrics in place. And what happens if we're working for somebody and we don't measure up, we don't meet those measurements or those metrics? What happens? Yeah, hasta la vista. You eventually get terminated from your job. It's really important that you provide people metrics so they can measure their own performance. And if they don't like what they're seeing, they can modify it. Kind of reminds me of the performance tracker that we went through. All that is that's a metric, that's a measuring device, what I introduced in our first class. If you don't like what you see, then you modify your course of action to put your business right back on the right track. It's really important that you have detailed job descriptions, because at the end of the day, and I said this previously, if someone fails within your organization, 90% of the time, their job description wasn't detailed enough, you didn't understand what their goals were and help them get there, and there wasn't metrics in place for you and them to measure the success or lack thereof that those people were having. The intern agreement, and I wish I could tell you I was bright enough to have come up with this concept myself, but that was not the case. So I was working in Santa Clarita, and very rarely someone would knock at my office door. They would know better than to disrupt my work day, because I was there to work. I was there to work and to be productive. And one day I had a knock on the door, and there was a red-headed kid with glasses and freckles. And really, his name was Raymond Ray. That was actually his name, Ray. And Ray looks at me and said, you know, it's really impressive what you've been able to build, Eric. And I would like to go to work for you. I'd like to work for part of your organization. I said, I'm really flattered, Adama, with a compliment. I said, but we're not hiring anybody. I said, I'm not taking on any more staff. I said, I'm really happy the way things are running right now. And he said, no, you don't understand. I'd like to propose that I go to work for you for free. I said, for free? He said, yeah, I'd like to do an internship for you. He said, you know, if you had the opportunity to work for somebody like a Warren Buffett, if you wanted to be a stock trader, that would prove invaluable, would it not? And I said, yeah, I think I understand where you're going with this. He said, you've had a lot of success in real estate, and I am really serious about building out my real estate business. And I was wondering if I could simply learn from you. And at the end of the day, after I help you take your business to the next level, hopefully I'll be in a position to have learned so much that I'll best be able to provide for me and my family. And dude, I just thought that was the freaking coolest thing I've ever heard. So Raymond Ray wanted to go to business to work for me so he can build a real estate business and eventually perform at a really high level. And I get to be a contributing member of society by teaching Raymond the tools and systems that I have learned and passing them off to somebody else, kind of paying it forward. Raymond Ray has gone on to be a lot more successful realtor than Eric Orland ever was. It's probably one of my proudest professional accomplishments. The goal is not to have someone work for you. The goal is to be spiritually healthy and help someone spread their wings. So when they leave your organization, you could look in the mirror and feel good, kind of like what Adama does in terms of giving back her commissions. And look in the mirror and feel good that you helped somebody become a really strong, contributing member to society. It's imperative. The goal is for that person to help you build your business so you could let them spread their wings and fly freely in a year. Let's take a look at how the program works. It's the best thing that I ever implemented in real estate. So it's a one-year agreement. The intern should be working on getting their real estate license from the moment they agree to do this with you. The intern attends all of my coaching classes or any other coaching class that you prefer, and they meet with you every off week to practice the introduced tool. So I've introduced 12 different tools over 6 classes. You would drill down and make sure that you were teaching those tools, which would reinforce what you've learned. You would review their goals, you would help set their calendars, and they would prospect with you. So guys, watch. When I was door knocking one side of the street and I was knocking on 200 doors a day, who do you think was door knocking on the other side of the street? Raymond Ray. How could I not be successful? I had telemarketers calling. I had Raymond Ray. All I did was double my efforts and expanded the funnel of buyers and sellers because I was engaging with more people on a week-to-week basis. So the intern attends a realtor coaching class with you, and they meet every off week to practice the introduced tool, review goals, set calendars, and prospect. The intern will prospect with you, whether you're door knocking, phone calling, and everything office related to ensure they're learning how to efficiently run a true real estate business. The intern will be mirroring everything you do. They'll be going on listing appointments, doing CMAs, and all of the essential duties of a realtor. How is an intern compensated? Don't worry, it's never going to cost you a dime. They are never going to receive compensation on anything that you've generated. For the first 3 months, they're going to work for you absolutely free. That's their buy-in. That is their buy-in to get a master's in real estate. Just like if you and I today wanted to go out and get an MBA, we would have to put money down, tuition, in order to get that MBA. The first 3 months is the intern's buy-in. They're working to you for free. That is their contribution. After 3 months, how does it work? It's a tier compensation for the intern, and it's the following. On the first 7 transactions, the intern gets 30% of the net commission. 8 transaction to 12, the intern gets 40% of the net commission. And the 13th transaction and over, the intern is going to get 50% of the net commission. Again, please keep in mind, the compensation is only on new leads that turn into a transaction that the intern themselves has generated. So it is business that they identified through their prospecting efforts. Anything that you got is entirely yours. So this is just an ability to grow your business with the intent of teaching so you could set them free. How do you locate an intern? Post at junior colleges, big time, Indeed.com, and you must interview the intern and make sure that the intern is motivated and a good fit for you. Like I said, I look for people who are money motivated, people who are goal driven, people who are coachable, people who've got good listening skills. So at the end of the day,
quick question.
Please.
Is this also for after you're at 150,000 gross, or is this, or I'm sorry, 150,000 net, or is this something you can do right now?
I think something you can do right now, but I want to share something with you. You have a fiduciary and a moral responsibility when you take somebody under your wing. You have to know that you're in a position to be able to teach these subject matters. I'm going to be launching this class on a pretty regular basis. I'm actually meeting with Phil Simonetta, who's coming up here next week. We're going to be doing these classes on a very, very regular basis. And I think that if you want to bring somebody onto the call gym with you, somebody that you wanted to hire, I think that's a great idea. Or if, you know, Sean Kokoska has an excellent coaching class, Tim and Julie Harris, I like Mike Ferry, I like Tom Ferry. I think at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to make sure that they're receiving this information, that you're able to provide it for them, and then work that information with them so they're internalizing it and implementing it into both of your businesses. Guys, questions, comments? Then I'm going to open up for the last 15 minutes. I'm going to open up the forum to you to ask me any questions about real estate, anything that you'd like to get out of this, any modifications you'd like to make to the program. But any questions or comments, concerns about what I talked about regarding building a real estate team? Stella, what do you have? I see Stella. Asked to unmute. Gotcha. Stella, you're unmuted. Asked to unmute. Stella, I think you have to unmute your phone. Or unmute your computer, sorry. What were you going to ask me, please?
Yes, please. Can we do it virtually, the internship thing?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Can we do it virtually, the internship thing, with the person that is willing to assist us and to assist them?
You know, I think that, you know, if you're going to hire an internship, I think it's important that that person really mirrors you, and you're not going to sit on Zoom all day. I think it's really important that you do that in a face-to-face setting. So for an intern, I'd like that intern to be close, and I'd like them to be working with you hand in hand, so they can mirror what they see you doing to further ensure their success.
Hard in New York now.
Hard in New York now, I understand. I mean, it's hard everywhere in the country. But, you know, this too, Stella, shall pass. I mean, I don't know when there's going to be a vaccine. Nobody can predict that. But I mean, this is not going to go on forever like this.
That I thought that probably, as we are trying to work like Adama with, I don't know, buyers virtually and sellers, probably we could put a model that we can work with assistants like that.
Yeah, I mean, assistants, absolutely. Absolutely, you could work an assistant. I know that Mary Rose assists Colette. Mary Rose, are you on?
Yep, I'm here.
I know Mary Rose is in the Philippines, and she assists Colette McDonald, who's one of the best agents in all of Atlanta. I mean, she's a icon agent that does well over $500,000 a year. So I'm all for having virtual assistants. How does that work for you, Mary Rose? How do you like being a virtual assistant, and how is it supporting Colette? What are your challenges, and what are the benefits to working with her?
Oh, there's a lot of benefits, challenges. It's you know, it's a given. It's up to you how to basically figure things out, you know, for yourself. Self-study, learn while you earn at the same time. I'm also learning from her. What else? Challenges.
Are you prospecting for her?
I've done a little bit more, but right now I do more on the admin and callbacks. I call realtors, do follow-ups for showings, and mostly administrative. Like right now, and hopefully another reason why I'm in your class is, you know, maybe here in the Philippines there's a big opportunity for EXP or me myself, if I could establish myself as a you know,
Great.
do sales and realty.
Awesome. Guys, any other questions? This is your forum. I want to spend the last 15 minutes and last 10 minutes or so opening up general questions, any feedback around the class, but feel free to fire away. And then I wanted to invite you to an event that I'm holding this week. I'll invite all of you, but I first want to be here to answer any questions. Will, any commentary? Noel, Michael, Jimmy, Cherie, Vicky, speak now, Phil, or ever hold your peace.
I'll speak.
Vicky, what do you got?
So I just want to, this is my second time taking the class, and I'm getting even more out of it. this, the first time I took the class, it was probably back in 2016, 17, something like that, Eric.
Yep.
And it was a game changer for me. So I know for me, it was, this is a lot. Okay. So it even seems like it's even more this time, but I'm telling you guys, if you guys just take like, a couple of things or, things that he suggests and do them well, I mean, it can change your business. I went from selling like 15 homes a year, a little average agent, to selling 40 and 45 agents here in California. So just by doing a couple of things that he suggests. So I mean, I know that it's a lot, and even going over this, I'm just, I have probably 11 transactions going right now, and all this stuff he's telling me, I'm like, ooh, so I absolutely need an assistant. So I think that I'm gonna, that's what we're gonna talk about on our call on Wednesday. But I just want to say, just do some of the things that he says, and your business will blossom. And I mean, we can't do all of it because it's too overwhelming, Eric. It's just too much.
It's a lot of content.
It's we get this for free, and it's amazing. So thank you, Eric, for the time, and thank you for doing it on Zoom. I know this is different for you, but you did a great job, and I just want to say thank you.
Yes, it is different. Thank you, Vicki. It's really, I love working with you. I am so proud of the success that you've had. And at the end of the day, you're able to look yourself in the mirror. You're the one who's rolled up their sleeves and went to work, and you epitomize what it means to be a real estate professional. I mean, and you've changed the whole way that you live. I mean, I look in Facebook and watch you going to Thailand, doing things that for you and your family. I just love it. I love the fact that you've been able to make that type of life for yourself.
Thank you. You were definitely instrumental.
Thanks. Guys, anybody else? Any comments, questions about the class?
Can I just ask Vicki a question? Just
Sure.
Out of curiosity, how many hours a week do you work?
Oh, probably, I work out in the morning, so I don't really start till about 10. And then I probably end about 5.
Yeah, I was asking because that's one thing Eric and I spoke about, that Eric did the math, and I think he said I work like 320 or 340 hours a month. So I'm trying to transition my business into real estate. And, I remember he told me that I cut my time in half, and I could be so much more successful than what I am now in, working as a realtor just through the time management.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually started using a calendar with Eric. I never used a calendar before. And so I was all over the place, late for appointments, running, don't know what's coming up next, So just time management, sticking to your calendar, being on time, it's respectful for other people and everything. And so, and you have to, if you don't give back to yourself, then how are you going to, you can't continue that. You can't continue that level. It's too much. We want to retire in this business. We don't want to die. Right?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Guys, anybody else? This is your class. Feel free to speak. Let your inner child speak. Nobody's judging. Anybody anything to say at all?
Well, Eric.
I just want to thank you, Eric. Go well.
Okay, who's going to go?
You can go first. I'll go after you.
Okay. I would like to, of course, second what Vicki said. The value is incredible. All the information that we have received. I think, like most things, the biggest thing is now to implement all the things that you have taught us. And if we do that, for sure, we will improve our business tremendously. So even though the class was free, and we thank you, like a million for that, but it's our job now to really implement what you have taught us in this class and really move forward. And I'll take this class as many times as I need, because it is, again, it's wonderful and it's really, really a life changer. I mean, like, look at what Vicky said, from doing probably 15 transactions to doing over 40 and changing her life, implementing, like, you know, a little bit here and there. That's wonderful. And that's an opportunity that we all have. An opportunity is nothing unless it is seized. We seized the opportunity to attend this class. Now we have to do our part and really implement everything. That's all I can say. And I want to thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Noel, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Eric, for your time, for this course, you know, this classes you've been giving us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the tools, the resources you've given us, from the scripts to the pre-listing presentation. Everything else is just totally a game changer. And like Will and Vicky said, yeah, it's now time to really buckle down, implement it, and really get to do the work and do the grind, do the hustle. And if anybody's willing to role play, you know, I'll make myself available, maybe half an hour a day. I know I need to work on my scripts and really internalize it and really get out there and really put myself to start prospecting more and getting more appointments booked. So if anybody wants to reach out and role play, I'm all for that. And just thank you, Eric, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So guys, so I'm going to launch another one of these classes within the next few weeks. If you enjoy the class, please feel free to have people join. So I do put on the classes for free. I don't mind putting on the classes for free. It's an ability for me to meet realtors. So I'm sure many of you have gathered, I am with EXP. I've been in the industry for over 30 years as a top producing realtor and as I guess a national real estate coach. I believe it's the best model that I've ever seen. Hold on one second. Did you hear? No. Okay. Sorry, my son just walked in. He's waiting to hear from the University of Miami. So I'm dying to know. And at the end of the day, I believe it's the best real estate model I've ever seen. So I use the class to meet people. And you are my funnel to determine, you know, if I think it's a good working relationship. If there's anybody on the call that would potentially like to work with me, my focus, and I think Pedro Andrade, Noel, I mean, you heard people on the call speak over and over. My goal is to help you build your real estate business and an EXP organization. What I love about EXP is there's 6 to 7 different revenue streams. And guys, most realtors, including myself, the more money we make, the more money we make, the more money we spend, and we get into a really vicious circle. I've never been to a realtor's retirement party, and most realtors I know live paycheck to paycheck. If any of you are interested in having a conversation about EXP, I would love to talk to you about it. I believe it's a career game changer. I'm going to say the following to you. In life, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. What are you going to do differently? What are you going to do differently to provide best for you and your family? I got into EXP 6 months ago, and I'm telling you, it transformed my life. I'm going to tell you, I could say this, and I don't say this arrogantly. I say this because so many people on the call believed in me and gave me the opportunity to entrust me with their career, where I'm on my way to making over $1 million a year in residual income. Residual income, over $1 million a year. And I've done it in 7 months. And I'm no better or worse than anybody here. Guys, reach for the moon and grab the stars. You're worth it. And I'd love if you're interested. I mean, I know that a couple of people on the call already in the class that I didn't know previously are going to come over and join us. But if anybody wants to have a conversation about EXP, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. My goal, again, is to help you build your real estate business and take your real estate career to the next level. I would love to talk to you and work closely with you. If you'd like to, feel free to give me a call offline. My cell phone number, you could set a text. You can get on and do a one-on-one with me. But my cell phone number, again, is 415-595-9000. And I'm here to help you any way that I can. I want to say thank you. If I don't get the opportunity to communicate with you again, I want to say thank you for allowing me to do something that I love to do. Can't imagine doing anything else, because I think that in life, the more you do give, the more you do receive. And I feel like, based on your kind commentary today, that many of you receive value, and that makes me super happy. So hopefully we'll have the opportunity to continue working together in some capacity. And again, if you'd like to have a conversation about EXP, please give me a call on my cell phone, text me, schedule a one-on-one appointment with me. But it's your career game changer. There is no other game in real estate today, and that's just factual. It is the fastest growing real estate company in the history of the United States. Now, in 38 states, we have the #1 or #2 top producing agents, which suggests industry trends are all moving toward EXP and away from the traditional bricks and mortar real estate companies. Thank you. God bless to everybody. Great friends on the call. And again, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you,
Have a
Eric.
good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
Eric,
everyone.
for everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.